The losses on these movies were out of this world. Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 sci-fi movie box office flops.
The more you care, the more the world finds ways to hurt you for it.
For this list, we'll be going over the science fiction movies which flopped at the box office and are considered failures. These can still be good movies, and some of them technically garnered more box office revenue than their budgets, but the studios still took a significant financial and reputational loss.
If you like what you're hearing, be sure to check out the full song at the link below.
Bang, bang on the wall, don't make no sense at all. Still you try anyhow, hoping against hope they see the light. Let's play, let's pretend.
Number 10, John Carter. Given that its source material was written by the man who created Tarzan, it's surprising that it took so long for an adaptation of this pulp sci-fi story.
Where the hell am I?
Even so, the books were quite influential on numerous other stories throughout the 20th century. Maybe that's why audiences found the plot relatively formulaic, even if its source material helped create the formula.
No! John Carter! You can't!
Whatever the reason, John Carter struggled to recoup its production budget of $263 million, only making $284 million worldwide. When you factor in advertising, John Carter ended up being one of the most expensive movies ever made, and Disney lost money on it.
Get more than that. Give me one.
Number 9, Gemini Man. Will Smith has always been a big name at the box office, but even he can't save everything. Gemini Man follows an assassin pursued by a younger clone of himself. If that sounds like a generic action movie from the 90s, that's because that's how long ago the script for this one was shopped around, waiting for technology to reach the point it could be properly made. And although the effects are indeed fairly impressive, the tired premise didn't draw people in, particularly domestically, where Gemini Man grossed an unimpressive $48 million. Its overall earnings of $173 million were better, but against a budget of $138 million, the movie still faced losses. We guess it was its own worst enemy. Number 8, Annihilation. This sci-fi horror film follows a team of scientists who investigate an area whose plants and animals have been infected by alien influence.
Volunteering for this, it's not exactly something you do if your life is in perfect harmony.
Although well received by critics, audiences were less enthusiastic. They clearly put their money where their mouths were too, since Annihilation barely made back its $40 million budget by earning $43 million worldwide, and with additional costs factored in, that's definitely not a success.
I wouldn't like that at all.
The movie was distributed partially online internationally on Netflix a month after its release. And although this probably didn't hurt its gross too much, it probably didn't help either.
And I'm fine going on my own. You just need to decide whether you're coming with me or not.
Number 7, Dune. Based on the influential sci-fi novel of the same name, Dune may have featured an all-star cast and been helmed by a well-known director, the legendary David Lynch, but audiences and critics alike soundly rejected the movie, with most finding it an incomprehensible mess.
I remember the first step in avoiding a trap is knowing of its existence.
And even fans of the book left scratching their heads.
You carry my unborn sister in your womb.
He knows.
Dune's $40 million price tag was a bit too steep since its earnings fell shy by about $10 million. Despite everyone's best efforts and a later cult following, neither the spice nor the profits managed to flow.
They defend the spice side. As to their relationship with the spice, who knows?
Number 6, Jupiter Ascending. The Wachowskis are no stranger to sci-fi epics, but this original outing of theirs failed to live up to their other work.
You begged me to do it!
I am not your damn mother.
Following a young woman who discovers she is the heir to an intergalactic empire and her attempts to save Earth, Jupiter Ascending has been roundly criticized for its lame dialogue, disjointed plot, and campy acting. And those criticisms translated to a poor performance at the box office. $176 million went into its budget, and after a paltry $47 million in domestic earnings, the film only ascended to $183 million in its worldwide gross.
I create life! And I destroy it.
Number 5, Mortal Engines. Based on the book series of the same name, Mortal Engines is set in a post-apocalyptic world with huge motorized cities and follows a conspiracy in mobile London.
They don't know what they're playing with.
Fire.
Director Peter Jackson has been lauded for his previous book-to-screen adaptations. Well, some of them. But this is easily the most costly in losses. With a budget estimated between $100 and $150 million, plus post-production and marketing cost, Mortal Engines pulled in $83 million at the box office.
This is all my fault.
This lost the studio many tens of millions and made the film not just one of the biggest sci-fi box office bombs, but a giant fail of any genre.
In the great game of survival, this is checkmate.
Number 4, Blade Runner. Although this cyberpunk detective film about a hunter of androids has since been hailed as a masterpiece and as one of the best sci-fi movies ever made, its initial reception was much more lukewarm.
I want you to go put the machine on.
And if the machine doesn't work?
With many audiences disliking its relatively slow and thoughtful pace, its box office returns barely exceeded its $30 million budget.
Painful living fear, isn't it?
Sadly, its sequel Blade Runner 2049 would follow in its footsteps 35 years later and become another flop. With many of the same box office issues, despite critical praise, all those potential profits lost in time.
Like tears in rain.
Number 3, Battlefield Earth. An adaptation of a book by Scientology creator L. Ron Hubbard was always going to be a risky proposition, and it turned out that the financial risk was not worth the reward.
What do you know about gods?
We have seen gods. Rock and I both.
You lying thieves.
Battlefield Earth follows a group of humans rebelling against alien overlords in the future. Yet its generic premise has rarely been received quite so poorly, with critics lambasting the film's hammy acting and preponderance of Dutch angle camera shots. It was hardly surprising that it failed to recoup its $73 million budget, only managing to earn $29 million at the box office.
Everything you humans knew is here. And you can look at anything you want. Because there's nothing that will help you.
This legendary bomb even led to the collapse of its production company, although falsely overstating the budget to investors was also a prime factor. Number 2, Supernova. It's never a good sign when a director disowns a movie and asks to have their name removed from the credits.
Clean this place up.
Despite a decent cast and effects, Supernova is yet another spaceship encounters evil force, leading to lots of death movie, which was all too common in the 90s. Audiences were evidently tired of them too, since the film only earned just shy of $15 million in theaters. That's what's called in the business not so good. Considering its $90 million budget, Supernova proved as explosive as its namesake, but not in the cool way. Before we get to our top pick, here are a few more sci-fi clunkers who made the honorable mention.
This is a joke, right? Where's the girl?
God, who's gaining on us? Can I shoot? I got a clean shot!
Whoa! Well, that's harmless.
Nice to be working with you, hotshot.
You better hope I don't make it back.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1, The Adventures of Pluto Nash. This is your all-timer right here. The Adventures of Pluto Nash is an infamous film about a nightclub owner on the moon who fights against the mafia.
You have to shoot around your boy! It's easier to shoot through him.
Now, there's a pitch. Critically panned and the subject of mockery since its release, Pluto Nash is also one of the biggest bombs in box office history, making only around $7 million against its $100 million budget.
Perfect.
While the big budget's influence can definitely be seen on screen with the special effects, the writing and the acting were simply not up to snuff. Welcome to Flop City. Population, Pluto Nash.
It's been real, James.
Oh, great. So I'll just sit here and blow up, shall I?
Do you agree with our picks? Let us know in the comments. And hey, if you're a fan of the song playing right now, be sure to check out the music video for it right here.
But dead time plays cool.